Good morning and welcome to the virtual services of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Swannanoa Valley. My name is Spence Voskew, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. Here we practice a non-creedal form of worship. Our individual beliefs are diverse, and hopefully our attitude toward each other's beliefs and traditions is one of tolerance and acceptance. Rather than focus on doctrine or belief, we find primary significance in our shared agreement or covenant to affirm and promote our 7 principles. As we pass from summer to fall, let us remember this and hope for the days when we can gather at McCormick Field in Asheville and enjoy a minor league baseball experience. But for now, play ball and let the service begin.
Good morning. Welcome to our Sunday service here at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Swannanoa Valley. I hope you've had a relaxing and productive week and that you all are staying healthy. Our words this morning, our chalice opening words. We light this chalice not because we must, but because we may. We light this chalice not because we have the truth, but because we each come bearing and seeking many truths. We light this chalice in connection across culture, distance, class, and language. We light this chalice that our religion may be a beacon of light, of hope, and of justice. We light this chalice to kindle our hearts and our minds. All right, on this lovely morning, I now invite you to join in singing our opening hymn this morning. Our opening hymn this morning is 39, Bring, O Morn, Thy Music. Hymn number 39. Our opening words this morning are number 483 in our gray hymnal. I thought these would be a little reminder from Brother Wendell Berry. When despair of the world grows in me and I wake in the night at the least sound in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought or grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time I rest in the grace of the world, and I am free. This is the time in the service when we invite you to share your joys and concerns. We know this is a rough time, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on inside of us and outwardly in the world. And so please take the time and share with us a joy, a concern. It lets us know what's going on in your life, and we can reach out and just know that you're not alone. Even though we're meeting virtually, this is still a community. A little different in the days and times for now, but it's only for now. So please share a joy, a concern.
Hi, this is Larry Perlman with a joy to share. Thanks in large part to the generous people of this UU family, I will be sending about $1,100 this week to Isahaku Musa in Daboya, Ghana, so the Daboya Clinic will be able to install a water storage tank so they can better serve the approximately 13,000 people in that area. And this is especially critical within this time of COVID. So thanks again, and share in my joy.
This week we had quite a few joys and concerns emailed in. First, from Robert Tynes, is that a few weeks ago, after quarantining for 2 or 3 weeks, Robert got to be together again with his daughters and their families here at his house for a few days. It was so much fun to be with everyone, and especially for them all to enjoy being with their 14-month-old grandson, Cy, who has learned to walk and is a hoot. Sandra Abramitis says that her joy is that she made it to her 72nd birthday. Happy birthday. She said that she has a concern that she doesn't understand what Reverend Carter means about baseball and Virgos. And I will tag on to that. This week is also my birthday and also my wife's birthday. So I'm taking vacation and I'll be joyful all week. A couple concerns. Jessica Thomas just got out of Copestone Psych Ward, part of Mission Hospital. She was there for 9 days. Please keep her in your thoughts as she gets used to her new medication and that she continues to recover. We'll be thinking about you, Jessica. Jim and Aline's son, Jeff, in Minneapolis is having a hard time and may require hospitalization. Aline is on her way up there to see what support she can directly provide. Please keep Jeff in your thoughts and prayers this week. Also, a thought or prayer, again, for the judge in Haywood County deciding Finley's next step on Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. It would also be appreciated. Thanks. Finally, Reverend Michael Carter would like to express a concern regarding the shooting of unarmed Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin, a 29-year-old African-American man shot in the back. He is now paralyzed from the waist down. He was shot in front of his children. Again, our community and our church believes that Black Lives Matter.
For those of you who, for whatever reason, did not want to share a joy or a concern, know that we keep you in our hearts and in our minds. Please center yourselves in the way that is most comfortable for you. I'm going to invite you now to join in the spirit of prayer and meditation, a prayer of thanksgiving, because all that's going on in the world, we still cannot forget that there is much to be thankful for, that we stand on the shoulders of other people, and life is good. It's not good for everybody. but life is still good and it's still worth living. And with that in mind, this is called Finding Thanksgiving. Spirit of life, God of love, let me write a thanksgiving on my heart. On clean lines, I will inscribe what pleases me. A warm summer day, a quickly spreading smile on a child's face, the still warm touch of an aging loved one. And then I will write the names of all who have been with me at moments of great discernment. Let gratitude pour from my soul as I recall their gifts of time, of patience, and unconditional love. I will draw empty lines for those whom I will never know, who gave needed gifts to my mentors. In this world of endless distractions and complications, I pray for the wisdom to humble myself in gratitude for these gifts beyond measure. Help me learn to thankfully pass them on to others. And now, while our minds are one for this brief moment, I leave you with the eloquence of silence. And so it is. Amen. Well, you're familiar with this time. We ask you to give generously. This is the time for our offertory. Again, I want to remind you that you give what you can. No gift is too small. We realize that the times are hard and that maybe you cannot give as generously, and some may not be able to give at all. That doesn't matter. We ask you to give what you can give to keep this community growing, to keep this community vibrant, and to celebrate what we do, what you do here at UUCSV. And so, in the spirit of generosity, I thank you ahead of time for this morning's offering. Hymn number 348 is our next musical selection. Hymn number 348, Guide My Feet. All right, so here we are. I want to talk about being perfect in our imperfections. This is for all you Virgos out there. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's a universal trait, but I was raised with a Virgo. Perfection, perfection, perfection. My mom, God bless her. Anyway, let me start with this. I'm sure you've heard this before. I'm using the game of baseball as a metaphor. It's, without further ado. Oh, somewhere in this favored land, the sun is shining bright. The band is playing somewhere, and somewhere hearts are light. And somewhere men are laughing, and somewhere children shout. But there is no joy in Mudville, for mighty Casey has struck out. My biological father has been dead for 7 years. And I think about him naturally and the person he was and our time spent together. And yet the thing that really reminds me of him was just how much he loved the game of baseball. And he loved to watch it and play it as well. Now, I'm sure he would continue loving it and being a fan with cardboard people in the stands and, you know, the whole thing with COVID and the masks and what have you. I don't think that would deter him, but we live in interesting times. When he was alive, I had the pleasure of watching him play pickup games on Governor's Island in New York. My dad was one of the first African-American warrant officers in the Coast Guard, and he lived on Governor's Island, and that's where he was stationed when he and I first met. He was a diehard Yankees fan, and occasionally he would root for the Mets, but they were just terrible, especially after the '69 World Series. I often wondered, you know, why he loved the game so much. And I loved sports as well as a youngster. I played and enjoyed my share of baseball games. I played basketball. I played football. In high school, I played JV football. And when I was younger, there was an organization called the Junior Orioles. And I remember my stepdad taking my brother out to the games, and we would play ball. And my stepfather was an athlete. And you know, we would go to the discount tickets. It was just a wonderful experience for two young guys who wanted to know more about baseball. And this was in the years before the team moved to Camden Yards. They were at Memorial Stadium. The Baltimore Colts football team, I'm dating myself, and the Baltimore Orioles played in Memorial Stadium. My biological dad was also extremely philosophical about life and relationships, and I imagine on some level this may have attracted him to the game, but I can't say for sure. He did believe that baseball was a thinking person's game, and I also noticed that many major league players, well, they weren't in the most tip-top shape in baseball, and that was okay. They didn't have to have those chiseled physiques you see now with NBA players and with NFL players. Some of the players were a little round, if you will, but they still got the job done, especially the pitchers, because their arm needed to be strong. They didn't have to be perfectly physically fit, and it intrigued me. Again, this quest for perfection that I was raised with, but somehow knowing that it was impossible to achieve. And yet, as I got older, the slowness of the game left me bored, and I was more attracted to football and basketball, and I never really got back into the baseball game for many, many, many years. I did try to get back into the game a bit before his death. I knew he was eventually going to transition, and at that time, now you can't stop me from going, even though, COVID has stopped me from going, but the Asheville tourist games I attended, I loved them, even though they lost most of the time when I attended, but I enjoyed the family atmosphere, and it did make me think of my dad. I was very grateful for that. I also began to appreciate attending the games, and then I appreciated watching them on television. No, I don't have a favorite team, really in any sport. I usually root for the underdog. But now that the baseball season is back in a very different way, I'm enjoying it just as much as when I was a youngster. And while I have friends who still swear that baseball is the most boring game on the planet, I'm seeing it now with fresh eyes. It is as if my father is speaking to me in some strange way and reminding me of the lessons that life can also be gleaned, about life that can be gleaned from America's favorite pastime. But one of those is that you do not have to be perfect, that we are perfect in our imperfections. Now, I realize that the players were paid too much money and some of them cheat big time. The owners can be ruthless, and the entire idea of sports would be seen and has been seen as an opiate for the masses. I get all that, but it doesn't deter me from enjoying. I never really took the time to ask my father why he enjoyed it so much, or if I did, I don't remember his answer. It's just that I do recall he was not a very religious man, even towards the end. And he once told me, I sent him some literature about Buddhism, and he just said that the Buddhist philosophy really resonated with him of all the studying he had done with religion. He definitely was not a Christian. I felt that he was really exploring his inner life there and sharing it with me towards the end, for he was more agnostic and humanistic in his beliefs than anything else. Some of you may be asking, how can baseball be spiritual? In the movie Field of Dreams, starring James Earl Jones, Susan Sarandon, and Kevin Costner, Costner's character is told by the ghost or spirit of the other ball players that if he builds it, it being a ballpark, they will come. In other words, pursue what you love and the rest will follow. You've heard this, right? This is a simple but profound truth of the spiritual or inner life. Your true desires will attract not only who you are, but what you are and need, and if you focus on it, and if you are intentional about what you want. For Annie Savoy, this is Susan Sarandon's character, the co-star in Bull Durham, her religious journey has culminated in declaring her commitment to what she calls the Church of Baseball. She says, I believe in the Church of Baseball. I've tried all the major religions and most of the minor ones. I've worshipped Buddha, Allah, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, trees, mushrooms, and Isadora Duncan. I know things. For instance, there are 108 beads in a Catholic rosary, and there are 108 stitches in a baseball. When I heard that, I gave Jesus a chance, but it just didn't work out between us. You see, the Lord laid too much guilt on me. I prefer metaphysics to theology. You see, there's no guilt in baseball, and it's never, ever boring. It's a long season, and you just gotta trust. I've tried them all, I really have, and the only church that truly feeds the soul, day in and day out, is the Church of Baseball. I love that monologue. While Michael does not commit to baseball as a religion, I do see baseball as a spiritual experience. If a team plays well, and there are a few great moments in the game, but they still lose, well, now it's still a good game to me. And life is like this as well. Still, you may ask, what's so profound about the game? First of all, the goal of the whole game is different from most other sports where there's a net or a hole or a hoop or a goal post to put the ball in or through. In baseball, the object is to hit the ball, but the goal is to get the batter home, to get back to home plate. And somehow, helping your teammates get back home holds more meaning because it's about helping yourself and others find their way home. Right? Do you remember the quote by T.S. Eliot, "We shall never cease from exploration"? And the end of all our exploration will be to arrive where we started and to know the place for the very first time. One of my favorite quotes. That's what it means to return home. That is the inward journey, the journey without distance, the journey from here to here. In baseball, one of the major ways to help get your teammates back home around the diamond to home plate is to what? Is to sacrifice for them. A sacrifice play means that you don't get credit for it, but it advances the runner. Walks, bunts, sacrifice flies, which are good hits, but they get caught for an out while advancing the runner, are all examples of this. So a key to this game is sacrifice. In my life, the most beloved people who I hold closest to my heart have sacrificed something for me and I for them. There is something about releasing your own need in order to help another without martyrdom that is deeply moving and life-giving for me. And then, of course, there are the transcendent moments in baseball, the long ball that is headed over the fence for a home run until a player outruns the ball, leaps at the precise moment to connect with the ball and hold it up majestically in his glove. The poetic double play in which the shortstop tosses to the second baseman, who then twists in midair, throwing perfectly to first base, or to play at home plate when the runner slides 10 feet and a bit out of the baseline while managing to brush the tag with her hand to avoid the catcher's tag. These are wonderful moments. All of these plays they leave me with appreciation of the skill and athleticism of these players. Baseball, for the most part, is a reflective sport. Both men and women play it. It's not fast enough for the fast crowd. It's a slow game, usually lasting about 3 hours. And although there's no clock, so it goes on until it's over. Few major sports are like that. In other sports, the clock is the competition. And so baseball invites you to just chill and enjoy the game. The tickets are still, at least for now, within the range of most people, so that the average person can attend the game. It's still a great family outing. There are beginning to be more folk of color in the front office and in managerial positions. We can tip our hats to people like Jackie Robinson and Satchel Paige for being pioneers in the sport, especially Jackie Robinson. And yes, baseball is a business like most sports, yet it is still a wonderful sport. And here are a few other things about the game that I want to mention to resonate with the game of life. You always take a break. Always take a break in baseball. It wouldn't be complete without the seventh inning stretch. Never missed or skipped. It's a tradition that one doesn't seem likely to go away anytime soon. It reminds us that no matter how important we think the task is at hand, there's always time to stop and stretch and rejuvenate ourselves, always. Everyone strikes out occasionally, and some more than others. Errors are part of the game. It's built into the game. Why? Because we know human beings are playing the game, and human beings make mistakes. There's a category: runs, hits, and errors. We are perfect in our imperfection. You don't always know if something is foul or fair right away. In baseball, a ball is determined to be fair or foul depending on the relative position of the ball in the foul line, right? So unlike in real life, in baseball, the foul line is consistent. It's always there. And unless there's a really bad call, which does happen by an umpire, an unusual hit that can take some time to interpret is usually pretty easy to call, especially with instant replay. But in life, there's not a clear-cut line to guide us, and we can sometimes flounder trying to determine if something that has happened to us is really good or bad. It just reminds me to not rush to make any judgments or decisions about things, and to step back and take some time, a deep breath, to analyze first. Neither a slump nor a streak lasts forever. This is even truer in life. Negative, challenging, and yes, bad things happen in life, and this is just part of the deal that comes with being alive. It doesn't mean you're cursed. It doesn't mean some God doesn't like you, or that you are bad or jinxed. It just means that you are alive. But the bad doesn't last forever, and there's also plenty of good that goes along with it. And sometimes it might be hard to see the good when so many things go wrong, but it's still there if you look closely. There's an old African American saying that goes like this: trouble don't last always. A baseball great, Yogi Berra, said, "It's not over till it's over." That's not just true in baseball, but in many other things in life as well. Howard Thurman reminds us that the contradictions of life are not final, and that's what the seasons of Lent and Easter is all about. It's what Passover is all about. Cycles of life, death, and new life. Remember this when you're struggling with obstacles and odds that seem to be against you. The only way that something is really over is if you give up on yourself or end something too early because you're scared. Do not let fear stop you from doing the things that you want to do. Do them completely so that you could look at yourself in the mirror and know that you gave it your all. How many times, and I just did this the other day, if you're a sports fan, that you've turned off a game or left because you thought the game was over and you find out that the team you wanted to win, even though they were losing at the last minute, they wind up winning the game. That always irks me. I did it the other day watching an NBA playoff game. I said, this game is over. It was tied. Somebody shoots a 25-footer and it goes in, swish, all net. Every season brings a fresh start. If baseball players let losing a game or a series get to them, there'd be no baseball season. This is true of any athlete. Every season and every game means a fresh start. No matter how bad a game is, they don't quit. They keep hitting, pitching, catching, and playing because they know that there's always tomorrow or the next game. We all have the same chance. Each day when we wake up, beating yourself up for something that happened in the past only prevents you from going forward. Why do that to yourself? We are flawed because we are perfect in our imperfection. Acknowledge that. Yes, you can improve on something and then you can forgive yourself and move on. These are simple yet profound truths of the game of baseball and the game of life. So today, I thank my dad, privately and publicly, for reminding me about the game of life and encouraging me to get out there on the field. For encouraging me to go out there on the field of life and to simply live it. And so, in short, the game of baseball teaches us that there is perfection in our imperfection. Baseball teaches us that the game of life and the game of baseball is perfect as it is, that there is a perfection in human imperfection. Baseball teaches us, or has taught us, how to deal with failure. We learn at a very young age that failure is the norm in baseball. And precisely because we have failed, we hold in high regard those who have failed less often. We hold in high regard those who hit safely in 1 or 3 chances and become star players. I also find it fascinating that baseball considers, again, errors are part of the game, part of the rigorous truth. So there's an education for all of us. There is no such thing as perfect. Yes, we can always argue that we can better our best, and that's fine, but it can also be a trap. Ever worked around or been in a relationship with someone who is a perfectionist? You want to talk about fatigue. Perfection is an impossible goal. Most genuine spiritual paths remind us, or attempts to remind us, and teach us how to deal with failure. Failure is part and parcel of the game. Baseball and in life at times, it is the norm. So you see, it's okay to make mistakes. We don't have to play God. Albert Camus once said that what we call basic truths are simply the ones we discover after all the others. There is a crack in everything the universe has made, and that's where the life and the light comes in. Trying to be perfect is the most tragic human mistake. There can be no inner peace living life this way. You see, the core paradox of life is that we are somehow incomplete. I'm not talking about original sin. And we're somehow unfinished, which means we can still evolve. And this is life on planet Earth. It is only human to long for perfection and to be imperfect, to long for certainty and to be uncertain, to be broken and to crave for wholeness. Paradox is the nature of human beingness. Paradox is part of life, the way life on earth was meant to be. It is the place where human beings discover each other, and we discover each other in love. The spirituality of recognizing and accepting our perfection and our imperfection is such a place, right here on Schoolhouse Earth. Don't let your fear of striking out keep you from getting in the game. May it always be so. Amen, and blessed be. Well, I hope that got you going. Not to be so hard on yourself. I mean, nobody's perfect, and maybe you have a renewed interest in the game of baseball. A little weird with cardboard people there, but it's still a good game. And so with that in mind, I invite you to join in singing our closing hymn this morning, My Life Flows On, hymn number 108. Our closing words this afternoon. Go now in peace. Deeply, deeply regard each other. Truly listen to each other. Speak what each must speak. Be ready in every moment to disarm your own heart. Rejoice in this love that you have begun. Amen. Have a wonderful Sunday afternoon.
Our last piece today is a waltz, and I know some of you love to waltz, so now's your chance, with or without a partner. Get up and waltz.